The South China Sea is one of the world's most vital and strategic waterways, stretching over 3.5 million square kilometers and connecting the Pacific and Indian Oceans. Every year, trillions of dollars worth of goods, ranging from electronics to oil, are transported through these busy sea lanes, making it a lifeline for global commerce. Its stability is crucial for the global economy, as any disruption here could send shockwaves through supply chains worldwide, affecting everything from fuel prices to consumer goods. Yet, beneath the surface, the region is a flashpoint of overlapping territorial claims, with tensions simmering just below the surface. China, Vietnam, the Philippines, Malaysia, Brunei, and Taiwan all assert competing rights over islands, reefs, and vast stretches of water, each seeking to secure their own interests and strategic advantages. China's sweeping Nine-Line claim covers nearly the entire sea, clashing with its neighbors' rights under international law, especially the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea, or UNCLOS. For these countries, the stakes are high: sovereignty, national security, and access to rich resources like fish, natural gas, and oil reserves that lie beneath the waves. For global powers like the United States and Japan, the main concern is freedom of navigation, ensuring that no single nation can dominate or restrict this critical maritime route, which is essential for international trade and military movement. As a result, incidents at sea, ranging from standoffs between coast guards to near collisions between naval vessels, are becoming more frequent and dangerous, raising the risk of a sudden escalation. Diplomatic efforts to resolve these disputes often lag behind the rising tensions, creating a fragile environment where even a small miscalculation or misunderstanding could spark a larger crisis. The South China Sea remains a central focus of international diplomacy and a key test for future security and cooperation in the Indo-Pacific region. The world watches closely, aware that the outcome of these disputes could reshape global power dynamics and influence the balance of power for decades to come. Understanding the players, their histories, and their motivations is essential to grasping why these waters matter so much, and why the stakes are higher than ever before. China has transformed the South China Sea by building artificial islands and militarizing them with runways, ports, and missile systems. These outposts serve as strategic bases, extending China's reach far from its mainland. China's massive coast guard and maritime militia patrol disputed waters, often intimidating other nations' vessels. This strategy changes the facts on the water, making China's control difficult to reverse. Smaller neighbors struggle to compete with China's resources, and their fishermen are often pushed out of traditional grounds. The international community condemns these moves as violations of China's pledge to avoid escalating disputes. Many see China's actions as an attempt to change the status quo by force, not negotiation. This assertiveness is now the main driver of regional conflict, drawing strong reactions from the US and its allies. The South China Sea has become a stage for great power rivalry. China frames its actions in the South China Sea as fundamentally defensive, emphasizing that its presence and activities are rooted in what it claims are centuries-old rights to these waters. Beijing frequently points to ancient maps, navigational charts, and historical records to justify its so-called historic rights, arguing that these precedents and documents predate the framework of modern international law and should therefore be respected. This historical narrative is a key reason why China rejected the 2016 Hague Tribunal ruling, which found that China's sweeping Nine-Line claim had no legal basis under the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea. China dismisses the tribunal's decision as an act of political interference by outside powers, and regularly accuses the United States of stirring up trouble and using the dispute as a way to contain China's rise on the global stage. Beijing maintains that without the involvement of external actors, regional countries could negotiate and resolve their disputes peacefully through dialogue and mutual understanding. Chinese experts argue that their military posture and increased naval presence are direct responses to frequent U.S. operations and patrols in the region, which they see as provocative. By presenting itself as a victim defending its historical sovereignty, China seeks not only to justify its actions internationally, but also to rally strong domestic support and foster national unity. This narrative of historical victimhood and rightful sovereignty is central to China's overall strategy in the South China Sea, shaping both its policies and public messaging. The ongoing clash between China's historical claims and the principles of international law remains a core obstacle to any lasting resolution of the dispute. Understanding this deeply rooted perspective is essential for decoding China's motivations and for grasping the complexities of the South China Sea issue. The U.S. responds to China's actions by championing freedom of navigation, ensuring all nations' ships and aircraft can pass through international waters. U.S. Navy patrols, called Freedom of Navigation operations, challenge China's claims by sailing through disputed areas. These missions often lead to tense encounters with Chinese vessels, highlighting the risk of miscalculation. The U.S. has deepened alliances with the Philippines, Japan, and Australia, coordinating efforts to counter Chinese coercion. Washington balances pressure with dialogue, aiming to deter aggression without triggering open conflict. The U.S. strategy is a high-stakes balancing act, defending the rules-based order while avoiding war. The South China Sea is now a geopolitical chessboard between the world's two largest powers. The Philippines has emerged as the most vocal and determined challenger to China's growing presence in the South China Sea, a region fraught with tension and competing territorial claims. As the world's attention turns to these contested waters, Manila's actions are setting the tone for regional resistance. Under President Ferdinand Marcos Jr., the Philippine government has adopted a much tougher stance, openly publicizing incidents of Chinese harassment and incursions within its exclusive economic zone. This new approach marks a significant shift from previous administrations, signaling Manila's intent to defend its maritime boundaries more assertively. The Second Thomas Shoal has become a dangerous flashpoint. Here, Chinese Coast Guard vessels routinely block Philippine resupply missions to the BRP Sierra Madre, a grounded Navy ship that serves as Manila's outpost. These tense standoffs often escalate, with both sides refusing to back down. Such confrontations have resulted in damaged supply boats and injuries among Filipino crew members, turning the shoal into a powerful symbol of Philippine resolve and sacrifice in the face of overwhelming odds. In response to these threats, the Philippines has deepened its alliance with the United States, granting American forces greater access to military bases and expanding the scope of joint military exercises. This renewed partnership is designed to deter further aggression and reassure the Filipino public. The strengthened alliance sends a clear message. Any attack on Philippine vessels could potentially trigger a U.S. response, raising the stakes for all parties involved. Manila also champions the landmark 2016 International Tribunal ruling, which invalidated China's sweeping claims. By invoking this legal victory, the Philippines seeks to rally international support and increase diplomatic pressure on Beijing to respect maritime law. The Philippines' strategy is multifaceted, combining legal action, diplomatic outreach, and military readiness to defend its maritime rights and assert its sovereignty in the face of persistent challenges. For Manila, this dispute is not just about territory, it is existential. It is a fight for national sovereignty, the livelihoods of its people, and the survival of a nation determined to stand its ground. The world is closely watching how this small but resolute nation stands up to a regional giant, with the outcome carrying implications far beyond Southeast Asia. Ultimately, the Philippines' struggle could set a powerful precedent for other countries facing similar challenges, shaping the future of international maritime order and regional stability. ASEAN has spent decades trying to manage South China Sea tensions through diplomacy, focusing on a code of conduct with China. The goal agreed rules to prevent accidents and build trust, even if territorial disputes remain unresolved. Progress has been slow, with disagreements over whether the code should be legally binding. Vietnam and the Philippines want enforceable rules. China prefers voluntary guidelines. This deadlock has stalled talks, frustrating many ASEAN members as tensions rise. Some countries, like Cambodia and Laos, are reluctant to challenge China due to close ties, weakening ASEAN's unity. Despite calls for urgency, internal divisions make it hard to present a united front. The Code of Conduct remains the best hope for peaceful management, but its future is uncertain. Without clear rules, the risk of miscalculation grows daily. ASEAN's ability to overcome its differences will shape the region's stability. South China Sea tensions are deeply linked to the Taiwan issue. Beijing sees Taiwan as a breakaway province, while the U.S. supports Taiwan's self-defense. This standoff casts a shadow over the entire Indo-Pacific, as conflict over Taiwan could spill into the South China Sea. China's military drills around both Taiwan and the South China Sea signal its resolve to assert dominance. For neighbors like the Philippines, proximity to Taiwan means any conflict could directly affect them. The U.S. views defending navigation rights in the South China Sea as part of its broader commitment to Taiwan and the regional order. The two disputes are fronts in the same geopolitical struggle. As long as the Taiwan issue is unresolved, regional tensions and military buildup will persist. The fate of both flashpoints is intertwined, complicating any path to peace. The future of the South China Sea is uncertain, with deep-rooted disagreements over sovereignty and law. China stands firm on its claims. The U.S. and allies are equally determined to defend the rules-based order. Frequent naval encounters risk accidental escalation into crisis. Diplomacy, especially the ASEAN-China Code of Conduct, offers hope, but progress is slow. Without compromise, the region will remain a hotspot for confrontation. The dispute is about more than territory. It's a contest over the future of power and rules in Asia. The world's eyes are on these waters, knowing the stakes are global. Decisions made here will shape security and prosperity for decades to come.